All right. Good morning. Hope everyone can see me and hear me okay. Hope everyone's doing well. My name is Clark Dumart, and I'm going to be your host for today's presentation on Discovering the USA by Rail. I am our business development executive. I work here with Amtrak Vacations, Rail Bookers, and I've been here a little over 6 years. And I'm so excited to be here today. And thank you so much for everybody for taking time out of your I'm sure very busy schedules to join me this morning. I'm hoping to give everyone a little bit of awesome insight, very exciting uh, upcoming announcements that we have here at Amtrak Vacations and some helpful tips and tricks for planning your next big domestic vacation. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. If anyone has any questions, on the right side of your screen, there is a section that says Q&A. Feel free to type in any questions or even comments. Totally fine. The more the merrier. Throughout my presentation today, I will do my absolute best, but I will answer as many of them, or if not all of them, as I can. I see we already have one in the chat. So Barbara, thank you for dropping that in there. I will answer that as I go through. And like I said, feel free to drop any questions you have as I go through, and hopefully we'll get to everybody's by the end of the presentation. So with that being said, let's talk about some of our top trips that we have upcoming for 2026. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have already taken Amtrak. If you have, I'm sure you can speak very highly of it, hopefully. If you have not, I hope it's on your bucket list. There are so many amazing places that you can go to by train. In fact, there are over 500 different train stations just here within the mainland part of the United States and all across Canada with the Vira. But today we're actually going to focus mostly on the United States and where Amtrak goes in our top trending trips for 2025 and beyond next year and even the year after that. So you can see on your screen there, everywhere you see red, that is of course train. Anywhere that the Amtrak goes, and any of those little white dots you see are also one of some of the many Amtrak stations, places that you can actually get off and on throughout Amtrak's routes throughout the United States. The little green lines there indicate bus travel. So Amtrak actually has a bus system that will take you to places beyond where just the train goes. And I know you have to pull out your magnifying glass probably to see this for most of you, but even myself, right? I'm looking out. So anywhere you see a star on that map, right, that is one of our vacation destinations. So that means you can include hotels, tours, and any other aspects to make your vacation more complete with us. Okay, so just to indicate what that is on your map there. And what Amtrak Vacations really specializes in, what we do best, is we are here to essentially be a one-stop shop for anything travel. We're here to help you connect all of those dots. And we know there's lots of components that go into carefully planning and curating the perfect vacation. We can create a fully customizable vacation. So we can literally build a trip from scratch. If you have an idea of where you'd like to go, we can help you figure out how long and where you want to stay and what you want to do on your vacation to really make it personalized. So, of course, we do the train. It's in our name, Amtrak Vacations. We are actually the official tour provider for Amtrak. And we can do so much more than just the train. Of course, you see there we have hotels. We have 3, 4, and 5-star hotels all over, not just the United States, but all over the world. Rail Bookers being our international brand, so we can help you with that. But today's presentation is focusing on domestic trips, so we can pick a specific hotel for you, hotel type. We also offer hundreds of tours and sightseeing activities all over the world. We can include your transfers in many locations. Not as common in the United States, just presence of Ubers and taxis, but internationally, certainly we can help with a lot of transfers. And so much more than that, we even do ferry tickets for those of you who don't know. So with that, I'm going to answer just a few questions really quick. I saw we had a question before about Wi-Fi. Only certain trains have Wi-Fi, not all of them. Typically, it's the regional trains in New England and the ones on the West Coast that go up through California, the Coast Starlight, for example, from Seattle all the way down to Los Angeles. Most of the cross-country trains, unfortunately, are not equipped with Wi-Fi, so I'm sorry about that. As far as costs, it does vary. So it's hard for me to put an exact number. We can fit in most budgets. So if you're looking for more budget conscious type of a trip, trying to do something for as little as possible, we can help you do that. We can also upgrade. So it's very tough for me to put a number on it, but let us know what you're looking to do. We'll try to help you set that expectation. for you. As far as luxury, we do actually partner with most of the luxury trains, if you didn't know already. So Rocky Mountaineer here in North America, we have the Rocky Mountaineer in Canada, as well as the one in the United States. We also have luxury trains all over the world, like Belmont, the Belmont Royal Scotsman, the Venice Temple and Orient Express, the Maharajas Express, the Rovos Rail, and so much more. So we do actually do luxury trains. So it's a great question. And as far as enlarging my screen, I actually don't have the ability to do that. You might have to do that on your end potentially. Of course, I don't have an option. I apologize. As far as doing a bid up process, that is not something we do. That is something with Amtrak directly. What I know, it's always best to typically try to reserve space ahead of time. And sometimes when they don't sell on their space, they will do like a bidding process for the last bedroom or something like that if they're not going to sell it. So that is not something we handle. So I apologize. I can't really answer anything about the bidding process. But thank you for asking for sure. And then with that, I know we have more questions, so I'm going to go ahead and continue my presentation today, but I promise I'll get to the rest of them as best I can. Okay, so what to expect on board Amtrak. So they offer quite comfortable seating. If you are comparing it with flying, for those of you who are familiar with getting on an airplane and flying across the country or across the world, the seats are very, very comfortable. In fact, I probably put them a little bit more comfortable than what you get on an airplane, unless you're flying first class, of course. But a couple reasons for that. There's only 2x2 seating in coach, and they are pretty large and wide seats, so plenty of space for that. The long distance trains most of the time have power outlets at the seats. You do have the freedom to get up and move about cabins. Depending on what class you're in, you might be able to go into the dining car or the observation car, which I'll touch on in just a little bit. You can get some amazing scenery right from the comfort of your seat. These large picturesque windows, you can see everything you need to see right out the window. So there's really no bad news anywhere you are on board. As far as baggage is concerned, I know some of you might have questions about what baggage is allowed and what isn't. So to keep it simple, what I've always used when I used to be in our sales department, I spent like 4 years as our Amtrak Vacations, one of our sales representatives. So what I always tell people is easy to remember. If I usually refer to it as the 2-2-2 rule, meaning 2 checked bags, 2 carry-on items, and 2 personal items, absolutely free of charge for every single passenger. The 2-2-2 rule. Very, very generous, I think. It's one of the best features about Amtrak for sure. Typically, it's up to 50 pounds per bag, but if you need to consolidate or move things around, they're more than happy to have you do that. Any additional baggage, if that isn't enough for whatever reason, they typically charge about $20 per bag on top of that. So they're very, very generous, I think, with baggage. Hopefully, with a family, you can typically get by without spending anything extra on your bags. And of course, it offers a unique way to do your sightseeing and see the country, see this beautiful country. Typically, you just fly over it. You kind of, don't pay attention to what's below you, but the train allows you to kind of take in everything as you go across the United States, through the Midwest and the plains and all the way through the western part of the U.S., through the mountains and all the way to the beaches. So lots of unique things you can see right from the train. And then, of course, we have the ability to customize your hotel selections. 3, 4, 5-star, boutique style, apartment style. If you need a suite, bigger for a family or smaller, bedding situation, you just let us know. We can help you customize that piece for you. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the sleeping accommodations on board Amtrak. And so there's a couple different main options, something called the first class roomette or the deluxe bedroom. Typically, the bedrooms are the ones that people want, and those are the ones that sell out first, generally, because there's just fewer of them. But basically, there are a few differences that make them kind of unique. So the roomettes are cozy. You have to like who you're traveling with, definitely. But when you are in the roomette, it is the best, most budget-friendly option for a sleeping accommodation on board Amtrak. Anytime you upgrade to any of the sleepers, roomette, bedroom, family bedroom, accessible bedroom, any of the above, you have all of your meals included, the entirety of your trip. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You will also get access to utilize the extra amenities, like the dining car or the observation car on board. Not to mention you get your own private space with beds for you to sleep. Very, very important when you are traveling cross country. Very few of us, I know, I think, me included, above all else, I definitely don't think I could do 2 days on the train without something to lay down on. I'm not even good at sleeping on a flight, let alone a cross-country train trip. So definitely recommend a sleeping accommodation to really enhance that experience and get you a lot more bang for your buck. You're going to be paying for those things. So I do have a video clip here describing the sleeping experience on board Amtrak. So let me go ahead and hit play, and hopefully everybody can hear. So make sure your volumes are turned up on your computers. Okay. All right. So hopefully that gives everybody a little better visual of what you're dealing with on board Amtrak and what you get with the sleeping accommodation, specifically with the roomette. I'm going to just get to a couple of questions just to make sure we're trying to stay up to date best I can. I know we had some come through. So Victor asked about the best way to travel from San Diego all the way up to Vancouver, BC. Great question. A very, very common route. In fact, it's one of my favorite routes in the entire United States. So if you start all the way in San Diego, there's a regional train called the Pacific Surf Liner. You could take that just a few hours north up into Los Angeles. A train switch is required to pick up the Coast Starlight, and from there you can take it overnight all the way up to Seattle, Washington, and it's about a 37-hour journey roughly. It's one overnight, but almost 2 full days that you're on the train. So would recommend a sleeper for that. And then once you get to Seattle, you can either take a shuttle all the way across the border into Vancouver, pick up a late night train, or if you want a little bit of time to rest and kind of reset for the next day, I recommend maybe even one night in Seattle, or even two if you can, before taking the short 3.5-hour ride up into Canada. So that's my suggestion there. I saw Suzanne asked about luggage policy, so I know it kind of touched on it. So hopefully this answered some of your question. But 222 rule again, max of usually 50 pounds. And if you have any questions, typically Amtrak.com's website does have luggage restrictions. If you can even just Google it or just ask AI, right? With AI with everything now, you can just ask it; it'll tell you. But that should be fine. Under 50 pounds per bag. I also saw a question about the schedule of stops. There is a time table that if you just do a quick Google search, I'm not sure if it's on Amtrak's website. They used to have one and then they pulled it. I have one for personal use just internally, but the schedules have changed somewhat since then. But I'm sure if you just do a quick Google search, that's the best way. That's actually how I typically get the most accurate timing now for the timetables. But there are documents out there that have the entire schedule. So with that, it'll give you an idea of how long you're at each station. Most of the time, it's like between 5 and 10 minutes. People get on and off, and then some stops are even longer, maybe up to an hour or more, as they do routine maintenance, like refueling and cleaning the windows and things like that. Keith asked about what beach I'm at. I have no idea. I just stumbled upon it. It's a beautiful day here in sunny Caribbean. So that's where I'm at right now. Can't get here by train, unfortunately. And then as far as like picking the hotels, I know we had a question about picking the hotel. So if you have a specific preference on type of hotel, we have hundreds of partnerships all over the world. If there's a specific one you want, let us know. We can take a look and see if we work with it. If not, doesn't mean it's impossible, but we can try to build it into our system. If not, we have lots and lots of great options. We select our hotels very carefully based on a combination of factors such as convenience, central locations. We want everything to be kind of close and very convenient. So walking distance from the train station, for example, or right in the center of downtown. Most of the time, that's what you get. But if you want something that's a little bit more upscale, let us know. We can let you know, what we have available. We typically feature between 6 to 10 hotels per destination on all our destinations on our website. So one of the other features too I want to talk about for a second is when you upgrade to a sleeper accommodation. I mentioned all the other amenities on board, but what about off the train? You also get access to their lounges. So the Metropolitan Lounge, something you get at some of the larger stations such as Chicago, Union Station, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles. If it's a bigger station, like even New York City, right, formerly known as Penn Station. I think it's Moynihan Train Hall now. You get access to the Metropolitan Lounge. Just show your ticket when you get there. If you have a sleeper for your upcoming trip, or even a first class or business class ticket, you're welcome into those lounges, and you can relax, get a bite, get a drink. It's all complimentary, which is really, really a nice feature for those Amtrak stations. Now, when you're on board, there's a rotating menu, and they make their meals fresh to order by a live chef and a team, which is wonderful. Because I know back during COVID, there was this like common misconception, like, oh, it's microwave meals, and they just don't look that good. And I'm not gonna lie, they definitely took a step backward, but they had to. They didn't have the staffing for it, and so they're kind of middle of the road, nothing to write home about. But since they've had that live team return a few years back, that's a thing of the past. Those microwavable meals, so to speak. And so the meals are really, really well done, and they have a variety of options. If you have any dietary restrictions, obviously just let your car attendant know and your server know, and they can try to work something up that's going to be better for your diet. Or if you're worried about that, just pack your own. You can also kind of bring some snacks, bring food, bring drinks, pack a small cooler if you want. It's very flexible, which is really, really cool. Another great feature when you have those sleepers is the observation dome. Here's a nice view down the hall of one of those cars. So you have open access to use this car as much as you want when you have a sleeping accommodation. And when you are in coach, unfortunately, you are more restricted. You actually have to ask permission now. It used to be that anyone could go in there, and they found that there were these large crowds, people waiting to get in. So it's more restrictive now, which I think it always probably should have been. So when you book a sleeper, you can go into the observation dome car, enjoy some of the best views on the train, enjoy the sights, listen to some music, read a book, glass of wine, whatever it is. It's a really, really nice way to sort of take in all that scenery and relax. Another feature, you get priority boarding. So the sleepers board first on board Amtrak. So when you hear the announcement that they are ready to board, they will make the announcement that anyone with a bedroom or a roomette or a sleeper accommodation on board Amtrak can board ahead of anybody else. And for those who may be bringing a lot with us, or maybe just need some extra assistance in general, Amtrak has this wonderful service called Red Cap service. So the Red Cap baggage assistance, it's literally these employees with red caps, appropriately named, that are on site at most of the stations, most of the ones that are employed anyway, because we know that there are stations that are just platforms, but most of those larger stations have this service. So they can help you with baggage through the station, transfers. Some of the bigger stations, this will be definitely useful to have. Let us know when we make the reservation. We can put it in your booking so that when you arrive, they are ready for you curbside. They can help you with those bags right away. And then you're on your way, so you don't miss your train. And what's really, really nice to note is anywhere you are in the United States, wherever you're tuning in from, wherever the closest train station is to you, we can book from that station. So just because you see a package on our website, amtrakvacations.com, just because you might see a package that might start or end in Chicago, we can start and end that trip wherever you want. If you're located in Boston, Massachusetts, we can add that extra overnight. Now, that's going to, of course, affect the pricing and the time frame of the trip. If you're also flexible on flying, we can have you fly to a part of the trip that's part way into the regular itinerary, and then start from there. So whatever you want to do, we can really make it your own, make it a lot easier for you, especially for those of us who don't fly. Now, just a quick comparison side by side here. I thought this would be good to include flying versus taking the train. Most of the time, flights, we can't compete, with their prices. Most of the time. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves, right? So flying from Boston to LA probably is going to be a lot cheaper, not to mention a lot faster than taking the train, of course. We're not going to compete. That's not why we're taking the train typically. The train offers such a unique type of experience that you just can't get on a plane. Not to mention the comfort. When you're on board, there's a lot more space. You can actually get up and walk around. They do encourage that, especially every so often. Get your legs stretched, keep moving. It offers very scenic views, we mentioned, from the train, so you can enjoy the views right from your window, whereas on a plane, you're just flying right over everything typically. Now, when you arrive at the station, it's only recommended to arrive about 30 minutes ahead of your departure time, whereas in an airport, let's say 2-3 hours ahead of time, if it's international or domestic. And then you have to go through TSA, and then you're doing a lot of waiting. When you're at the train station, it's not at all the case. There's not a full TSA process that you have to go through. They do have security available on site, but typically 30 minutes is all that you need in order to get a couple bags checked and then just find the track. And typically about 10 minutes before departure, sometimes more, they will announce what track. You just find it and then board right away. And we talked about baggage. So there's baggage restrictions. There's really not that many of them, so a lot more generous than most airlines. Not to mention the hassle-free check-in with no security lines. And then when you get to your destination, how many times do you fly to your destination? And now you're still an hour outside the city center versus taking the train, puts you typically right smack dab in the city center. You can start your trip a lot sooner. So it's a lot less time you're devoting to travel, especially on those shorter train trips. Now, just a couple quick diagrams I want to show here. So here's the roomette. So what we saw in the video clip before, they are cozy, like I said, but great for up to 2 people, 2 adults. Typically 1 or 2 bags. You can also store your bags at the end of the train car if you wish, a secure location. There's access to bathrooms and a shower just down the hall from your roomette. If you are traveling as more than 2, maybe it's 2 couples, maybe you're doing a group trip together. If you want, book them right across from one another. You can keep the doors open, have a regular conversation. They are that close together. So they're really, really handy to have. You also have access to showers where if you are in coach, I want to mention if you have coach, you don't have access to a shower. So keep that in mind when you are considering a cross-country trip and considering coach because no one wants to sit next to the stinky person on the train. So that's the roomette. The bedroom is quite a bit larger. It's about double the size of the roomette. The differences, including that there is an extra what we call a captain's chair. It's a large chair facing kind of a sofa across one side during the day. At night, those can be turned into beds, upper, lower level. There is also an ensuite bathroom, toilet, and shower within your cabin, as opposed to going down the hall. So much larger, privacy of that ensuite. So for the bedrooms, try to be flexible if you can, because the way they work, they do pricing is based on how many bedrooms are available on that given date. So if there's 10 bedrooms available versus another date with 1, you're going to pay a premium for the date that has 1 left versus 10 left. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you are flexible, that can make sure that we can get you the best possible price for your bedrooms. And when you're dealing with bedrooms, that could literally make a difference of thousands of dollars. Not even joking about that. For anyone who might need a larger space or maybe has more physical limitations, we have what's called an accessible bedroom that we can book for you. What I love about this room, it is about the width of the train car. It's the largest bedroom on board the train, but it only costs about the same cost as a roomette, which is really, really nice. So if someone is, confined to a wheelchair, has a walker, can't really manage stairs too well, no problem. This is on the lower part of the train and will allow you to get a comfortable room with a private ensuite bathroom right attached to that room for you, that it is all accessible. Now, the one thing to note, there is still upper lower beds in this room, so it really would only work for 1 person with those physical limitations. But if there's multiple, you can just book 2. But there are usually only 3 or 4 of these rooms available per date. So again, try to be flexible with your dates. We'll do our best to make it work. Just to touch on some of our top sellers, this might not be new information for some of you, and maybe no surprise, but every year for us, Glacier National Park is our best-selling domestic destination. It has a very short travel window starting in June and ending mid-September. They're only open for a little over 3 months each year, whereas you have some of these other national parks like Grand Canyon, which is our second best-selling destination in the United States. It's open year-round. And so it is still quite popular. It is our number 2 bestseller, but again, try to be flexible with your dates. We can go to many different cities, New York City, New Orleans. I would even, put Chicago in here as well. So, and of course, Niagara Falls, one of my favorite destinations I've been to a handful of times because I've got family up that way. But these are some of the best sellers. So if you are looking to plan these, one of the most unique things about Amtrak Vacations, and when you are planning this out, we can book up to 2 years in advance. So keep that in mind. We have dates through most of 2027. So if you want to put a deposit down and get your space locked in before space inevitably starts to fill and pricing starts to increase, it's a great time to get ahead of it. Don't feel like you're ever planning too early. Very, very exciting new announcement for us, our Stars and Stripes collection. So we are just getting ready for the quarter millennia, the 250 anniversary, right? The United States and the Declaration of Independence. So next year is going to be a big one for kind of that Americana style trip, especially along the East Coast. We have an array of customizable packages as part of this collection, including Boston, right down to New York, Philly, Washington, D.C., Williamsburg, so see some colonial United States. So be sure to get ahead of it because now is a great time to plan. It's going to only get busier as we move forward. And national parks will always be some of the most popular types of trips that we do, especially in the United States. Our Rails to the Grand Canyon trip, this is just an example itinerary. When you go on AmtrakVacations.com, if you are on the West Coast, this is one you might come across. And this one is a round trip from Los Angeles. You'll get all the details you need right at the top. We have different tabs where you can see an overview of the itinerary, your day-by-day descriptions. We have little drop-down menus, let you know where you are on what day and the time frame. And we give you lots and lots of details. And the best way to start building an itinerary such as this one or any other one is just give us a call. Pick up the phone and just give us a call. AmtrakVacations.com. I'll make sure that you have the phone number on our screen by the end of the presentation today. But that is the best way to do it. Start working with one of our representatives, and then they can help perfectly curate your next itinerary. We can customize everything. If you feel more comfortable going to a travel agent, or if you have a travel agent that you like to use, for example, AAA, you don't hesitate to go into an office and work with a travel agent because they are very familiar with our product. They use us every day. And it'll make the process a lot easier for you. If you're not so comfortable doing that direct with us, feel free to work with a travel agent. So don't even worry. They're there to make it a lot easier for you. In each day by day, wherever that destination is. So here, for example, we have day ones in Los Angeles. We give you a selection of different hotels that we feature for LA. And most of these are relatively close to either downtown. I know LA is so big. It might be close to downtown or where the train station is. I just know this one's a little bit of a one-off because the train station isn't necessarily considered like downtown LA. But we have an array of different hotels that we can put you at for that first night or last night or both. If you want to do a little visit, we can extend that. So that's where we feature all of our hotels. Most of the time, they are pretty centrally located, especially when you get to those international destinations that we have. Again, those bullet points within the details, so you can get the descriptions of each day or the overview of the entire trip. And then if there are certain activities that you are traveling for, so for example, with the Grand Canyon, we do include a motor coach tour upon your admission into the national park. And that's included as part of our itinerary. It's pre-included with that package. But let's say you want to do something a little bit different. When I was a kid, I remember I did a pink Jeep tour, which was awesome. It was a very personalized experience with the tour guide and my parents. It was a very small private tour we took, and it was really, really cool. We learned a lot, and it created these lifelong memories for me. We also feature more adventurous activities there, such as helicopter or airplane rides across the canyon. So if you're feeling adventurous, but things that maybe aren't included with the pre-built itinerary. So we encourage you to add additional activities or even swap out other activities, and all things that are possible, especially when it comes to the Grand Canyon and many of our national parks. I want to mention one more time, too, if anyone wants to start somewhere other than Chicago or LA or New York, some of the major cities that most of our itineraries are pre-built to start and end, you can start wherever you want. So if you're outside of New York and you want to start in Albany or Schenectady or Syracuse, we can do that. No problem at all. And here's a nice visual of one of the amazing stations there. So that's Chicago, I think. With Amtrak Vacations, I want to just do a quick little summary, and then I will get to some of our questions because I wanted to allow enough time to get to them. I know we have quite a few that I want to get to. So why Amtrak Vacations, to kind of summarize? Well, again, we are a one-stop shop. So essentially the only thing we don't book for you are flights. Okay, so we can do trains, hotels, tours and sightseeing, ferry tickets, so much more. So we can do all of those components at the exact same time in the same itinerary. It'll make it a lot easier for you to manage if, let's say, something unfortunately could go wrong. You never know. At least everything's booked in one place, and it's just one phone call for you to kind of manage that itinerary if something happens or if you have to make any changes to it. Keep in mind, we are the train and travel experts. We speak the language of train. If you don't know anything about trains, that's okay. We don't expect you to. So that's what we're here for. We'll work with you as long as you need, and give you all of your options. Make sure it's the best value deal. We want to make sure it's a trip that you're going to remember for a lifetime, and you're going to tell your friends, tell your family, you're going to want to travel again, with us, right? So you can start at any station, and we can go almost anywhere you want to. In fact, 46 of the 48 states of the mainland United States. That's many places as the train goes. So really, it's all up to you. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and pop into our questions because I know I only answered maybe like 10 or 11 of them, and we have a lot more. So please feel free to drop your comments, questions in the chat. I'm going to go through right now and answer as many as I can before we wrap up today. So let's see. So here I am. So I answered about how many hotels we have. Okay. So I apologize if I was going too fast. There's a lot of content. I knew we had a lot of questions. So as far as miles, so if you have an Amtrak number, you can let us know what your rewards number is. We can add it into your itinerary, and it'll be a part of your Amtrak booking, and you will get those points and those miles added into your Amtrak account. We just cannot cash them for points. Okay, so but you're more than welcome to put that in when you make a reservation with us. As far as presidential libraries, most of the museums and libraries are free to visit, especially in Washington, D.C. So if there are specific ones that you're referring to, especially in DC, let us know. Most of our tours, like a hop-on, hop-off tour, could get you there. And so it make it easier for you to get around without having to even rent a car. So just let us know. Absolutely, we can take care of that. As far as an issue with a train schedule, let me just read through this question. Book through you. Cannot make schedule changes, so sit and wait for you to open. So we do have a 24/7 emergency line. So I don't know if anyone knew that, but we have a 24/7 emergency line. So if something goes wrong on your trip, and if there's an issue, you can always reach somebody in a pinch. Amtrak has a different set of hours for their line. So I don't know if you're referring to them exactly, but we do have a 24/7 line. Just make sure you're calling the direct number. The main phone number for us is on the screen there. There's a different number you'd hit in order to direct to customer service. If that happens, and we'll do our best to help you and reconcile what's going on, depending on the case. If we know ahead of time about a schedule change, we contact you as best, as quickly as we can, so we can do that. As far as sleeping choices and costs, so hopefully I think we went over some of that, but costs, I mean, it can vary big time. You could spend under $100 on a train ticket, or you can spend thousands, right, for the same itinerary, for the same route. It all depends on what you want to get out of it. It varies day to day. One day might have a bedroom available for $1,500. Another day might have a bedroom available for $5,000. It really depends. It all depends on how many rooms are left. So try to be flexible. That's my biggest tip for everybody when they're planning their next trip. As far as the bullet train, we just had, actually, as we saw, Amtrak just launched their new Acela fleet between, I believe, Boston and Washington, D.C., actually. So up the East Coast, so where the Acelas were already running, I think they run a little faster, have a few more seats available on board. So they're really, really nice. So those, I wouldn't necessarily call them bullet trains. I just call them high speed. Unfortunately, it's the only place I don't know when the next high-speed trains or bullet trains will ever come to fruition in the United States. But I'm hoping soon. We are fortunately years and years behind the rest of the world, especially Europe, when it comes to those high-speed rails. But those are something that some trains I definitely encourage. Small cat. I saw a question about an animal. Great question. So as far as pets, there is a policy for pets on Amtrak.com, but I will answer it for you. I believe it's up to a maximum of 20 pounds for a small animal like a dog or a cat, and anything up to, I think, 7 or 8 hours. It cannot exceed that length of time on the train. If it does, the only way to get an animal like a cat or a dog, like I said, on board Amtrak is if they are a fully registered service animal where you have the paperwork and registration for them. That's the only exception that they make. Unfortunately, an emotional pet, will not qualify. Or if it's just a short trip, though, absolutely no problem. They have more information on their pet policy for sure. So good question. As far as traveling to another country, passport is like the the gold standard, I'd say, for going international. I know there's something called a passport card, but it's a little bit different. It doesn't always work. It won't get you back in. So passport is the gold standard. That is something that is required. Right now, to travel within the United States, we all see the news about the real ID requirements to fly. That is not something Amtrak requires at this moment in time. So that is definitely appealing, I think, to a lot of folks who are not getting the real ID or have not got it yet. But that if you just have a standard state ID, perfectly fine as long as it's up to date and everything. But the passport will be needed in order to get international. Good question about that. As far as stops to get off, stretch your legs, that's something I always encourage. Good question, Keith. So in my experience, getting off the train at many of the shorter stops, you might only have 5 or 10 minutes. They will note that for you. You can get off, get some fresh air, take a few breaths, like walk around a little bit. Just don't venture too far. When you're in places like Denver, there's about an hour between your stop and then your departure time. So you have a little bit more time. Just again, don't venture too far because you don't want your stuff to continue on and you're left behind. But that is something absolutely. And you can also get up and walk around the cabin on board. There are vegan options. They are limited. So if you're worried, I would say pack ahead of time. Again, you can pack a small cooler with foods that you can eat and would like to have. You can even pack a small cooler with alcohol if you want. Just don't go crazy with it. But it's no problem at all. I mentioned again about the points. So we can't use points for credit, but we can accrue more points for you. Just let us know what your rewards number is with Amtrak. Bunch of questions more, so I appreciate everyone's patience with this too, and I apologize. I know there's a lot of them. There's a lot of people here, so I just want to make sure I try to get to everybody because we did have some extra time with this. Are roumettes a good option for seniors traveling alone, or do they need to be shared? Great question, Stephen. So I do encourage, if you are traveling alone, a roomette actually would be a lot more comfortable than if you are sharing with somebody. And the reason is you're going to get a lot more space to yourself. Now, if you need a private or ensuite bathroom, if you prefer that over sharing with other people on the train, a bedroom would be a better fit for you. However, I think a roomette would be great. It does have a lower level bed if you need it. You can even do the top one if you want. It's definitely going to be the most cost effective, though, and you will get all your meals included. So I think that's a great thing to consider. And we can compare pricing on that. All you do, just give us a call. We'll build an itinerary and compare that pricing for you. I saw a question here about the points balance due be paid by my credit card. It's not a full segment. So I would say yes. But again, we can't just cash in points for credit. Let's see. Freedom of privacy. Yeah. So what I will say is generally you want to stay like in the center of these cities where it is generally the most touristy, and when it's the most touristy, it's generally the most safe, especially in the U.S. And I'd be careful just about the safety in a lot of these big cities. So I would say just if you are traveling and you have valuables, like for example your wallet, your phone, keep them in your pockets, keep your hands on them. Money belt, something underneath your clothing, a fanny pack, keep it in front of you. Where you're close to, or travel in groups, have a buddy system. That's my best tip. Just in general, traveling in general, you want to just have a plan, right? You want to be always vigilant, just be a little bit, more vigilant of your surroundings around you. That's my best tip for anywhere you go. That should be true wherever you are traveling. At certain locations, you can absolutely get off at different locations. So the thing is, if you are dealing with long distance trains, since these trains mostly travel just one time per day, if you do get off at a certain city to go sightsee, you're not going to be able to get back on until the next day at the earliest. So most of our packages might have 2 nights built in and then continue on and another 2 nights and so forth. And so that is something that we do. And that's something that we actually specialize in. But if it's just a same day thing, it would have to be more in an area where there are many trains per day, such as the Northeast up through New England, or the Southwest, such as through San Diego and Los Angeles. So those are really some of the only places that is possible to do within the same day. But if it's multiple days, absolutely, that's something that we specialize in as well. Let's see. I've seen some of these questions here. I'm just going to answer a few more. Okay. As far as discounts go, there is a senior rate that Amtrak offers, 65 plus, and there is also a senior rate for Via Rail in Canada, which is 55 plus. It is, I believe, 10% off of the rate of that train. So just the train portion, not the entire package, but that's applying to just the train. And there is also military, both former and active. No AARP, I am sorry. But if you do book through a travel agent, like I said, such as AAA, there are additional discounts that you can get and benefits. So that is something that it would make your life easier to plan it out, and it would be potentially even a lot less expensive. So just going to pick two more questions here, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and end the presentation. Let's see. So tours, good question. I want to touch on tours. So I saw Robert asked about tours, including local escorted guides. Most of our tours will either be a private or a group tour. And with those tours, they may have a meeting point if it is a large group, just because it's not time efficient for them to go to every single location to pick up every person. But they might have a central location where you meet, and it'll be like a group bus tour, for example, maybe through the Rocky Mountains. We also have private tours. So there is an aspect of that escorted feel, but we don't call them escorted tours because that's not really what we do. What we specialize in is flexible, independent travel. So the entire trip won't be escorted, but there could be parts of your trip, such as individual tours, that might be escorted themselves. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. All right, last one. Let's see. Travel insurance. I think this is absolutely some of the most important coverage to have. So anytime you are traveling, you want to consider what type of trip you're taking. Think of it as an investment. That's how I think of my travels when I personally am going somewhere. I always want to make sure that I'm in good hands if something should go wrong, because you always want to be prepared for the worst and just hope it doesn't happen, right? But things can go wrong if it's out of your control. And so we always recommend some sort of coverage. We offer a couple different types of travel protection. One that does allow a cashback, which is a little more expensive than the one that allows you to cancel for any reason and gets you a credit. So we have a couple different types of travel protection. There's also third-party ones you can get. If you book through a travel agent, they might have their own coverage that you can get that has its own benefits. So it's good to at least compare and contrast all the coverages. Again, if you go through a travel agent, they can help you do that. But if you ask our team directly, we'll go over at least what ours would cover and how much. So we'll let you know. It does vary based on the cost of your trip. So I know that there's more questions. I am very sorry, but what I would recommend is for those questions, I highly suggest give us a call. The phone number right on the screen, 1-800-268-7252. You can call us 7 days a week, Sunday through Sunday. Our team is always ready and happy to help and answer any questions. If you're ready to start building an itinerary or have something you are looking to book, please give us a call. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, today for joining us. I hope that this gave everybody a little bit more insight on what to expect with Amtrak and Amtrak Vacations. And if there is something that we can help you with and help you plan your next dream vacation, please keep us in mind for that. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their week. All right. Bye-bye for now.